Today I'm walking you through a structural balance training workout for the upper body. This is our vertical bent arm strength, vertical push-pull bent arm strength workout that we do in phase 1 of the UMS. So in this series I've been taking you guys through the whole journey that we put our members through, from going from beginner to very advanced, to being able to do some very, very cool feats of strength and flexibility and throw around some really big weights. And a lot of this has been inspired by some questions that I've had recently. Recently, I had a question saying, isn't it dangerous to be able to, isn't it dangerous to lift such heavy weights when you're doing 5 reps or less per set for your shoulders? And questions like that are a real misunderstanding of the way that our bodies adapt to training and to working out. So the exercises or rep ranges themselves aren't usually dangerous inherently. What is dangerous for you is if you aren't prepared for it properly. So we don't necessarily have dangerous rep ranges. We have poor preparation or we have good preparation. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're somebody that hasn't gone through some good structural balance training, you haven't conditioned your body to being able to lift heavy weights or to being able to do some impressive loaded flexibility movements, and you just jump straight in with your friend that's been training for years and you try and join in, then that could be catastrophic. You could cause yourself a really, really bad injury that's something that will stay with you for the rest of your life, or that you might even need surgery to fix. But if you're prepared properly for it, if you take the right steps and you prepare your body for the training that you're now demanding your body of, for the training that you're putting your body through, then it is absolutely not going to be dangerous for you. So this is why we do structural balance training. Structural balance training is to prepare you for all the more demanding stuff that you want to be able to do. So I'm going to take you through one of our structural balance workouts for the upper body today. I'm going to talk you through the exercise selection that we use and why we use the exercises that we use, so that you can get a bit of a better understanding. And then over the next several weeks, I'll take you through each of the different workouts for the different phases and talk you through why we use the exercises that we use. But before I do that, if you haven't done so already, please jump over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. It's one thing that you can do for me that really helps us to grow our channel and helps me to get better content out for you guys, because it shows me that what I'm doing is something that you guys value and it's something that you actually want to see more of. So if you haven't done that, and if you're watching this video on YouTube, then please hit that subscribe button. It means the world to us. It also helps us to be able to get better guests on the show. And this show, this episode, this whole live stream is sponsored by VPA Australia. VPA Australia are the supplement company that we use. You can see them in my shelf over there. You can see that creatine just there. That is VPA, and they are the highest quality supplements that I've found. And if you want to get some for yourself, you can get a discount if you use the code RAD10, RAD10. Go over to vpa.com.au and check them out. All right, so let's get into this. So the workout that I'm taking you through today, this is the vertical push-pull bent arm strength workout that we use in phase 1. So vertical push-pull means that you're pushing and pulling on the vertical plane, as opposed to horizontal push-pull, where you push and pull on the horizontal plane like this. And the workout is broken into 3 sections. So what we do is we have a mobility warm-up, or a mobility and a joint preparation warm-up, that goes for 10 minutes. Then we have a primary workout that goes for 30 minutes. Then we have a supplementary circuit that goes for 16 minutes. So the whole thing gets done in 60 minutes. And of course, that can be tailored to the individual. For some people, they take a little bit longer to set up and they can't get it done in 30 minutes and in 60 minutes. And so we reduce the amount of sets that they'll do, so it fits into their their availability. And then other people, they can get it done very quickly, or they want more volume, and so we just add more sets or extend it. So the exercises, so when we do the mobility warm-up, you can actually see our warm-ups on our YouTube channel. I've got them up there. I take you through it in real time, so go and check that out. If you go and search our YouTube channel for warm-up, it's honestly the best warm-up that I've found for strength and flexibility training. Because it's body part specific. So for an upper body workout, we're doing an upper body warm-up. For a lower body workout, we're doing a lower body warm-up. It's very efficient. The whole thing gets done in exactly 10 minutes because when we were doing it at Unity Gym, we had a timer going on that was, beeping every 2 minutes that reminded the coach to take you to the next body part, to the next part of the body. And so we got really, really good at doing it in exactly 10 minutes, which is really important because a warm-up should not take more than 10 minutes. A warm-up is preparation for the workout. It isn't the workout, so it shouldn't be something that you spend too much time on. And then we go into, we take all the joints for the part of the body that you're going to be training through full range of motion and preparing them really effectively for the workout. Then we move into the workout. And when we go into the workout, there's 4 exercises that we do in this workout. We do 2 upper body strength exercises and we do 2 lower body flexibility exercises. So I'll quickly talk you through why we do that structure of a workout. So 2 upper body strength exercises, we're always doing a push and a pull. So we're always training antagonistic muscles. We're always training muscles that, or a movement that is pushing in the vertical plane, and then a movement that is pulling in the vertical plane like that too. And so there's many reasons why we do that. That's structural balance in itself when you're doing one-to-one pushing and pulling movements, because one of the biggest imbalances that people have in their bodies is an imbalance between opposing muscle systems. So in this case, an imbalance in the muscle systems that push your arms above your head. So we're talking deltoids here and pecs and triceps. And then the muscles that pull your arms back down here. So we're talking lats, biceps, posterior deltoids, mid and lower trapezius, things like that. I should have said upper trapezius as well for pushing. So when these muscle systems are out of balance, if you train one more than the other and one gets really strong while the other isn't really sort of going anywhere, that's the first place that you're going to have imbalances. So that's one of the reasons why we do it. Another reason why we do it is for efficiency. You just get so much more done in the workout. And efficiency is the same reason why we do lower body flexibility with upper body strength. You just get so much done. So you do your shoulder press, when you rest for your shoulder press, and then you do a hamstring stretch while you're resting before you do your pull-up, and then you do your pull-up, and then while you're resting, you go and do a hip flexor stretch. It's very, very efficient. So the exercises that we use in this first phase, the first exercise we use is a standing dumbbell shoulder press. And there's a very, very good reason why we start with a standing dumbbell shoulder press and not a barbell shoulder press. So for starters, we use standing rather than seated, purely just because it's easier. It's less setup. It's less mental load on the person that's new to this style of training. So that's really the only reason why we use standing. That seated has its benefits and standing has its benefits. Seated is actually more challenging than standing because it's stricter. You can't do any kind of cheating in the movement. Like in a standing shoulder press, if you start to struggle a little bit, you can kind of arch your back a bit more and you can get up into it. But with a seated shoulder press, you can't do that. And we use dumbbells in phase 1 because they reveal imbalances from left to right side. And that's really, really important. We want to be aware of that. So just by doing the workout, just by going through the motions and doing 3 sets or 5 sets of the program, you will uncover whether you have an imbalance from left to right side, because you'll get to a point where if you go close to failure, you'll feel the weaker arm will fail before the stronger arm does. And that's really valuable information. That's something that we want to know in the earlier phases of the program, because we want to be able to see how big that imbalance is. Because if that's a huge imbalance, like if people are saying, oh man, I can barely do 4 reps on this one side, but I can bust out 10 reps on that other side, then that's a major imbalance, and that's something that we need to address and that we need to modify programming for. Whereas if it's, maybe only a 2-rep imbalance, maybe if it's where people are, they can do 8 reps on one side and 10 reps on the other side, that's not something that's that big a deal, and it's something that'll just work itself out over time. And it's also a little bit more gentle for a beginner, for somebody that's new. This position, to put your hands in a pronated position like this on a barbell, it actually requires more flexibility than holding dumbbells like this. So by holding dumbbells in a neutral grip, your arms can kind of just go where they want to go. But when you try and force into a pronated grip on a barbell like that, doing a shoulder press, there's a much greater demand for flexibility. So it's good for beginners to be able to just grab onto the dumbbells and get under it like this. And then the other really good reason to start with dumbbells is that it forces your rotator cuff to do more work. It forces the passive structures in the shoulder, so the deeper inner stabilization systems of the shoulder, to do more work, because it creates instability by using dumbbells. So when you use a barbell, it creates stability. So there's far less work going on in the inner unit in the body. And it's not just in the shoulder. So the rotator cuff absolutely has to work on overdrive when you're doing a dumbbell shoulder press compared to a barbell shoulder press. But it's also the core, because that instability in the shoulders, it transfers down through the trunk, through the hips, through the knees, and down into the feet. So it does cause your whole body to need to recruit the inner unit of stabilization muscles a lot more. So those are some of the reasons why we start with a standing dumbbell shoulder press in phase 1 of the UMS. Then we move to a loaded hamstring stretch. And a loaded hamstring stretch is where you stand up straight, you're grabbing onto some relatively light dumbbells. It completely depends on how strong you are and how confident you are with what you're doing. And you basically just hinge at the hip. So if this is your hip here, so these are your legs, this is your torso, and you just hinge at the hip like that, and you go as far as you can. For somebody that's not very flexible, they'll probably only be able to go to there. Somebody that's more flexible can be able to go to here, and somebody that's like super flexible will be able to go past that 90-degree angle. And you just stand there for 30 seconds. It's a really, really good place to start loaded hamstring stretching for many reasons. These are the reasons. Oh, excuse me. 5:45 a.m. over here. So, and I don't drink coffee anymore. So I've just woken up without any coffee, and here I am. So the reasons why we use the standing loaded hamstring stretch is, number one, it's really, really good for revealing any lack of strength in the posterior chain. So what we're doing with all of these exercises in the UMS is we're actually assessing our members to see their movement competency. We're looking to see how well they move. How well do they understand how to, follow basic coaching cues, keeping the elbows under the wrist, setting the shoulders back and down, being intentional with end ranges. How well do they assimilate that information and turn that into a movement? So the same thing with the standing loaded hip hamstring stretch. We're looking at how well they can follow the coaching cues. And what we see in a lot of people, because one of the coaching cues is keep the back straight, hinge at the hips. So what we see with a lot of people is, even though we tell them that, so we're telling them to do this, that what we get is this. We get a lot of rounding in the back. And so we're looking for that as we're doing the exercise. So we're performing an exercise that has a positive benefit on the body. We're performing an exercise that is very useful to develop hamstring flexibility and also posterior chain strength as well. Because being a loaded stretch, it's also developing strength. It's not just a passive stretch where you're just bending forward and allowing your body to relax. So the muscles and the structures are under load, which causes contractions as well. So it develops strength at end range. But we're also assessing for movement competency and for lack of posterior chain strength. And then that's something that we can also program to correct as well. And then we move into the first pulling pattern for the workout. So we move into the feet-assisted supinated grip pull-up. So supinated grip means like this, whereas a pronated grip is like that. Semi-supinated or neutral grip is like that. So we're doing a supinated grip feet assisted pull-up. So the reason why we do this in phase 1 of the UMS with structural balance training is for many, many reasons. The first is that the vast majority of people that I've worked with cannot do a pull-up when they start training in the UMS. And then even people that can do pull-ups, they can't do chest to bar pull-ups where they're depressing and retracting their scapula in each rep so that they can get their chest up to the bar. And so we need to address that. We need to, for people that can do pull-ups but can't do proper chest to bar pull-ups where they're controlling their scapula, we need creative ways to be able to address that lack of neuromuscular connection in the scapular stabilizers. And then for people that can't do a pull-up at all, we need a series of progressions that's going to get them to doing pull-ups. And a lot of people have quite a frustrating experience with pull-ups where they feel that they've just never been able to do them, no matter, you know, how hard they've tried and no matter how much they work on it. And it's because of lack of effective programming. With effective programming, people can unlock pull-ups in a reasonable amount of time. You just need to be consistent and follow a good program. And so this process starts with feet-assisted pull-ups. And the reason why, so a feet-assisted pull-up is where you have a chin-up bar, or what we like to use in the UMS is a barbell. Because, a barbell you can set up at whatever height you want. So you can set up a barbell at chin height, for example. So that means that you would need to go up on your toes to get there, but it gives you more space to be able to go to full range of motion at the bottom. And what happens is then, if you've got a barbell set up around chin or neck height or something like that, or if you don't have a barbell, if you've got your pull-up bar, but you get a box, you know, that you can step up on, so that you can stand up to the bar, so that you can basically touch your chest to the bar while your feet are still on the ground. But then it also allows you to go to full shoulder flexion, so where your arms are completely straight and your shoulders are elevated without your bum touching the ground and restricting your range of motion. And what that does is it allows you to use your feet as much as necessary to be able to get 8 to 10 reps of getting your chest up to the bar. And you might think to yourself, well, that's ridiculous. You know, how is that going to turn into a pull-up? But that's like saying that doing a 45-pound barbell bench press, I have to think in pounds because I know that a lot of you guys are in America, which is 20 kilograms. Which is an empty barbell, an unloaded Olympic barbell. It's like saying, how will that ever get you to a 240-pound bench press or a 100-kilogram bench press? Well, it's progressive overload. You're going to start light and you'll gradually add weight over time until you can do that 244-pound bench press or 100-kilogram bench press. So I hope I got my maths right there. No, that would be 200 kilograms. What am I saying? So the same thing happens with pull-ups. When you're doing pull-ups, you need to be able to regress the movement to a level where you can actually control the joints properly, where you're not getting up to the bar and you're barely getting your chin above the bar with your shoulders shrugging up near your ears, where on every rep you can actually pull your shoulders down, you can engage those scapular stabilizers and you can get your chest to the bar. And then and it allows you to focus on the correct cues. And also we use a supinated grip instead of a pronated grip because it recruits more bicep, which makes you stronger in the movement. When you use a pronated grip, you recruit less bicep, you rely more on the lats, which is a more challenging version of the movement. So we always get people doing good supinated grip pull-ups before we start working on pronated grip on neutral grip. So that is why we use a feet-assisted supinated grip pull-up, and then we pair all of that, those first 3 exercises, with a couch stretch. And a couch stretch is a stretch for the hip flexors. And we do that because for the exact same reason that we're doing a pushing and a pulling movement for the upper body, we're training the opposing muscle systems for flexibility in the hips. So we're training on the back of the hips, we're training the hamstrings and the glutes for flexibility, but also the calves as well when you do a loaded hamstring stretch. And then on the front of the hips, we're doing the hip flexors and quadriceps for flexibility. And so then we move into, Max Pete has got a question here. When I'm doing end range strengthening for flexibility, I'm at an intermediate level, but my question is, how would I progress? Do I just add more sets or reps, or is it something else? It's not a straight answer. I have to look. Man, I know this is a shameless plug, but this is why coaching is so important. Everybody's different what they need to progress, because what you're actually doing in your training, what you think you're doing, is not necessarily what's actually going to be happening. And I hear so many people come to me saying, I'm doing these reps and I'm really good at it and I'm doing this exercise and I just can't progress. Should I add more weight or should I add more reps? And then I'll look at their technique, and what they need most is technique correction. And so the solution for them to get better is actually to reduce the amount of weight that they're doing, focus on fixing up certain technique elements, which is different for everybody. Everybody has different things that they need to work on with technique. So, you know, I might be looking at you doing a seated pike compression lift, and what you need to do is to lift your chest up more and bring your hands back a little bit. For somebody else, it might be that they need to keep their knees straight. Somebody else, it might be that they need to point their toes. Somebody else, it might be that they need to not move their body on each rep when they're doing it. And that's just one exercise. And then when the technique is corrected, then we can start using progressive overload correctly, probably for the first time. Because if the technique isn't correct, you can't use progressive overload correctly. Because as soon as you start going towards your max effort, the technique goes out the window even more, and you're no longer using progressive overload effectively. Because progressive overload is only ever able to be used deliberately and effectively with correct technique, because only then are the loading variables the same in every workout, and only when the loading variables are the same in every workout can you actually make progress by using progressive overload. So I couldn't tell you, man. I'd have to have a look at the way that you're performing the exercises and then tell you what it is that you need to be able to do. What it is that you need to work on to make progress. And this is why coaching is so valuable. And this is why we make coaching so affordable. We make it less than $20 a week. So if you want to get on it, and you can do it for as little or as long as you want to, you can cancel whenever you want. Go to unitygym.com and check it out. Okay, so I'm moving on to, because I'm running out of time, I've got to go and teach a class soon. I'm moving on to the supplementary circuit now. And the 4 exercises, 1, 2, 3, the 3 exercises that we use in the supplementary circuit for this upper body workout for structural balance training is a 45-degree bicep curl, 45-degree supine bicep curl. So supine means you're laying on your back. Prone means you're laying on your stomach. And yes, we do prone bicep curls. That is a very legitimate exercise, because the angle of your humerus, so this bone here, whether the humerus is out here or back here, is going to change the way that we use the ratio of long head and short head of the bicep. And so by changing the angle of the bench that you're on, or by using cables, you will really change the way that the bicep curl is working. So you don't just do biceps curls by just sitting there and curling like this. You want to change the angle. So we do the 45-degree supine bicep curl, which means that you're leaning back on a 45-degree angle, because it creates an incredible stretch in the long head of the bicep. So it develops flexibility whilst in the shoulders, because the long head of the bicep is one of the muscles that restrict shoulder extension, your ability to go back behind your body like that. And it also develops strength in a relatively compromised position for the bicep. So it's a really nice exercise to get started with your bicep curling. And then we pair it with a supine flat dumbbell tricep extension, which basically means supine is laying on your back, flat is a flat bench, as opposed to a 30-degree bench or a 15-degree bench or a 45-degree bench. And we do a neutral grip bicep curl. So you're holding the dumbbells like this in a neutral grip, and you're just bicep curl, a neutral grip tricep extension. So you're bringing them down here and you're extending up to here. And we do that in a 1-to-1 ratio with the bicep and the tricep to create balance in the elbows. Because even though the elbows are being used in the shoulder press and the pull-up, it is very common that people get golfer's elbow and tennis elbow in the gym. Those are really common gym injuries, and we need to really condition those elbows. We need to condition those whole arms. It also really helps with grip training as well. And then the third and the final exercise that we do is a side lying external rotation from the hip. And so what that means is, I can't demonstrate this from sitting in my chair very well, but if I was to lay down on my side, rest my hand on my elbow, and put my elbow against my hip like this, and my elbow sitting against my hip like that, and then do external rotations this way. I've got the microphone in my way here when I'm doing it. But yeah, so you're laying on your side and you're doing external rotations that way. And we do that to strengthen the rotator cuff. So the rotator cuff has 4 muscles, and there's even, apparently there's debate now whether the long head of the bicep is part of the rotator cuff, something that I heard from one of my physical therapy friends. Haven't heard the outcome of that debate yet. But the main muscles of the rotator cuff, there's 3 of them that are involved in external rotation, and one of them that's involved in internal rotation. And the subscapularis, the one that's involved in internal rotation, is actually quite active when you're doing pressing exercises. It's quite active in a lot of exercises that we already do, whereas the external rotators, they don't get trained nearly as much unless you actually do external rotation. And so that's why we do this. It is very, very important that you train the external rotators of the rotator cuff, because if they don't get stronger as your pressing muscles are getting stronger, then that creates an imbalance in the shoulder, and that creates the environment for injury. And the reason why we start with lying on the side like that is because when the elbow is closer to the body, you can recruit more posterior deltoid, which assists in the movement, which makes it easier. Hope you guys learned something today. If you've made it this far and you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really helps grow our audience. It helps us to be able to reach more people, which means that we can get better guests on the show. And it also just tells me that this content is valuable and it's something that I should keep doing more of, because I don't know if I'm wasting my breath here. I don't know if I'm putting stuff out there that you guys just think, no, this is crap, I don't care about this stuff. So I hope it's not. I hope that you guys have got value out of this, because tomorrow I'm going to go through a structural balance workout for the legs using the squat pattern. So I will see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, and keep coming at me with your questions.